Hello, everybody. I'm Josh Welsh, president of Film Independent, and welcome to a very special edition of Film Independent Presents. So excited to have a conversation here today around the film Profile. Before we get started, a couple thank yous are in order. Thank you to our Film Independent Presents sponsors, the HFPA and Vision Media, our streaming partner, and also huge thanks to Focus Features for making today's screening possible. Really looking forward to this conversation today. I'm honored to be joined by the film's director and co-writer, TIMUR Bekmambetov, and two of the lead actors from Profile, Valene Kane and Shazad Latif. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
So I have a lot of questions about this film and also, Timur, about your work in this type of storytelling more broadly, because I think it's fascinating and feels like it's something that you're really developing and finding new ways to explore. But let's just start with Profile. So I know it's originally it's based on a French book by Anna Aurel, In the Skin of a Jihadist. Timur, could you talk about the origin of the project, what attracted you to that book and the decision to make the film?
Olga is my co-writer and my producing partner. She sent me an article, Guardian, published 2015, I think, and it was a story I was looking for because I made a movie called Unfriended, and it's a first movie where a story takes place entirely on computer screen. And when I made it, people said, "Oh, it's okay, it's a great movie, but the second one will be gimmicky because it's the same." And I said, my colleagues said, and I said, "No, that we live online. We spend half of our life in digital space, and there's a lot of stories we will tell, the filmmakers, we will tell by showing our screens, because there is nothing else can tell about us, who we are and what we're dreaming about and what our fears are." And I was looking for a new story. And this article and the book, Anna's book, was just perfect because it's a story where two people developing relationship in digital space never met each other.
So I'm very curious what the screenwriting process is when you're working in this screen life mode. Like, what does a script look like when you're doing this?
You know what? In the form, it's almost the same, but instead of like a interior, not like whatever room night, there is a interior room night, and then this Emmy screen, and there's a 5 folders in the right corner, and the mouse moves and clicks to open the folder, and then we see it's a script describing what you see on screen.
So one of the things that's fascinating to me in this film is, and with the other Screen Life films, well, I've seen Searching, I haven't seen Unfriended, and then I know you had another, we've done several now. Yes. Is the experience of time, like on the one hand, it's very linear, like you're kind of existing in real time on the screen, but in this film, there's also, it's not just real time on the screen, because Valene, your character, has compiled videos together that are edited, and it's also broken up by day. So it's fascinating to me the way you're living in real time with the characters as they're chatting online, but there's also the ability to manipulate time and go out of chronological order.
Yes, it is, because there is a lot of new stuff, because Screen Life, the language, is so new and provocative, and so many interesting decisions could be made. For example, like flashback. What does it mean, flashback? In traditional movie, it's like dissolve, and then you see somebody else close up, and then dissolve, and you see what's happened. And maybe voiceover will tell you, "Hey, when I was young." But in Screen Life, flashback. It's just you. We have a scene with Valene. You just going in your photo stream and playing your old photos, for old videos, or you just scrolling your Facebook account, Facebook into your Facebook account, and this is so many new tools, so many new ideas comes from the new form.
It's funny, just from you saying that, I hadn't thought about it that way, that actually it is so linear, but actually you have this amazing capacity to time jump wherever you want to, and it doesn't feel cheesy or like it doesn't feel a conceit for the audience. You're actually just following the actor having a natural impulse, and then you see the actor do. I'd never actually thought about it that way. It's like the perfect way to do a flashback without it being cheesy. And like, here's what happened in the past. She looks at what happened and you see her looking. So it is. I'd never thought about it like that you can actually have two time things going at the same time.
Timur, with this material, did you always intend this to be a Screen Life project, or with the book and the article, did you ever consider doing like a more traditional film about, ISIS recruiters?
Yeah, we had yesterday an interesting memory. I remember that we even tried to shoot one scene in physical space with the camera. It was the last scene, and where Valene meets her boyfriend. And we brought camera, we rented the restaurant in London, and we spent like 2 hours, 3 hours to set up the cameras, rehearse. And I was trying to make this short pretty, and suddenly I just had a feeling that everything is so boring, because it's after 2 weeks of very interesting exercises and exploring the new language and new forms and new ideas. Suddenly we jumped back in the traditional glamorous world of the old cinema, and we stopped, we didn't finish, and this scene not in the movie.
Interesting. Well, Valene and Shazad, I'd love to hear from you. How did you get involved in the project? And when it first came to you, did you get a script to read, or how did you come onto this?
It was one of the most interesting casting experiences, because the first audition was, it came through and it was like, oh, do a 5-minute basically improvised monologue with a character description, and basically mine was like a cult leader almost. So when that came through, I was like, oh my God, what is that? And that was all the information we had. So you just sort of went for whatever you thought might be the vibe, but it was very interesting. I've never had a audition come through like that, 5-minute improvised monologue based on it.
Quite a good introduction. It was quite a good intro. I had the same thing, but actually it was quite a good introduction for how we would all work together on this film, because I'm Timur, I'm sure that you knew exactly what you were doing, but it really relied on having both me and Shazad come with loads of ideas all the time and be so open and there wasn't any preciousness. We weren't like, oh, is that how you're going to do it? And can we just like figure out exactly what's going to happen, which some actors really like to work within that parameter. But I think for us, we were like, let's just see what happens.
And even that, the project's going to be quite exciting if that's the first sort of round of auditions. The second one, I was in the Tuscan mountains somewhere, and it was on Skype, so we had to do with different pairings. So I think it was with you and someone else or something. And
I never paired with you.
Oh yeah, and then it was just on Skype, and so it was like the movie, and then it kept cutting out, and I was worried it was So it was a very, very, even from the start, it was a very new, strange, exciting experience. But, yeah.
So were any of the auditions in person, or it was all online?
No.
Wow. Amazing. Before we go further, I just want to say to our audience, you are here at Film Independent Presents with Profile. And if you have questions, and I'm sure you do, please type them in the Q&A button at the bottom, and we'll get to them towards the end of the conversation. I'm really curious now also to hear about actual production from all three of you. So what is Timur, how do you structure a production as opposed to a traditional film? Like when you're doing this, how many days did you have? Are you working, I'm assuming you're working a lot individually with your different actors, or were they together for any of that?
No. We were lucky because we had a chance for almost a week to rehearse, to meet each other in London in a small, like in a hotel, and rehearse, and just and I introduced Valene to Anna, and they had a very nice moment to chat to each other, of course via Skype, and then the production was very different, the process, because we were in different places. Like Valene, and we with Valene were in Cockney, in a rented house, and everything was dressed as her apartment. And Shazad was in two places. She was in a like barbershop. I don't remember what it is, like a store or something, in different part of the town.
Internet cafe, yeah.
Internet cafe. Yeah. And then one day, and the actress playing Vic, she was in Soho, in the studio, and then the sister, Valene's sister, she was in a bus on Oxford Street, and we all, and in Shazad was in Cyprus at some point, and we were like in 4 different places, and there was a shooting was just recording the Skype, people talking to each other, communicating with each other online from different places. Of course, it could be done differently. Of course, we can shoot separately, but then we will lose the improv, the process, which was very, very entertaining for me.
Yeah, it was interesting because obviously Timur and Olga had to be with me because it was my desktop. So it was sort of like I was the location in a way, I was the, and so I had a earpiece in my ear, and then also I had a headphone. So I had Shazad in one ear as an actor, and then I had Timur as the director. But he was in like a different room in the house in Hackney that was my my home, Amy's home. And I would often just hear him chuckle, and I was like, okay, so he liked that take. But it was really interesting because we would have these very, very long takes between me and Shazad because we had rehearsed the whole thing like a play. So there was never a moment where we were like, oh, what happens next? Or what scene are we on? Or what's the next location? There was no setup. So there was nothing like that. It was just, we knew exactly the whole film. So we would just have these super long takes, and Timur would just, be in my ear saying, okay, let's try that again. Or that was good. That was interesting. And normally the most interesting things for Timur was me and Shazad talking like Valene and Shazad, because he was like, well, that's really real. So we'd say, okay, let's have Amy and Bilal be that real. And so we'd have to go back and try and get rid of any acting that we were doing,
Well, that was the next thing I wanted to ask you about, which is one of the most satisfying aspects of the film for me was seeing your relationship develop over Skype and Facebook in the real time of the film. And there are so many different emotional shadings and nuances. And, as a viewer, you get to experience these people meet and then see the relationship grow and take really unexpected turns. And so it's interesting to hear that you had that rehearsal time and you knew the scaffolding of where things were going. But how was that for you in the filming? I mean, this is obviously a very different type of acting as well. What was that process like for you when you were in the filming of being able to gauge your performance or feel what's happening with the other person? Was this similar to sort of a more traditional film for you, or did it?
I feel like there was this kind of safety in it, because when you're just looking down either the phone or the laptop, it sort of hones you in. You've got tunnel vision, so I could just see Val's face, and I could just see Timur, So it's sort of, we knew exactly what we had to do. So I felt like there was a kind of safety in it and a freedom. Just we're breaking the fourth wall. We're looking straight down the lens. There's no there's no worrying if a tracking camera is coming to the left of you or no, you know, there's no distraction. There's
Yeah.
no, it's complete, almost complete engagement, and it's how they would have connected anyway. So we're filming it how they spoke. So it had to be the way.
Yeah, and I think it was I mean, it was so exciting for me in terms of, I mean, selfishly as an actor, if I could always work like this, I would always work like this. Like, you know, to have Timur was, you know, you were just so like you were so confident in what me and Shazad, you never worried about what we did. And me and Shazad really trusted each other. So we really, there was never like, you know, can we go again? It was just like, let's do it, let's keep trying. And there was so much trust between Timur, Olga, the producer, and me and Shazad that we really could play. It was like being in a rehearsal room. Actually, that's what it felt like to me, like being back.
It takes your performances to the next level when gives you this next level of confidence when the director gives you that trust, and everything becomes better, I think, because there's no fear or worry holding you back, you know.
Yeah.
So I watched the film on my computer, and I loved watching it on my computer. It felt appropriate, but I'm curious. And I was saying before we started, I was telling Valene that when I was so I went full screen, but I found myself checking a couple, like I wasn't sure if it was full screen because there's so many different windows open. And there was one point where there was a video playing, some YouTube clip, and then there was a Post-it superimposed over part of her face at one point, and I reached out to my mouse to drag the Post-it out of the way, like I was trying to interact with the screen, and I kind of loved it. And I also loved when the way music operates in the film is so cool. I don't know why I loved it, but like when the window would pop up telling you what track is playing, it's like in real time you're seeing what the soundtrack of the film is, and it's a great soundtrack, by the way. But Timur, I'm curious, like, do you have a preferred viewing experience for the Screenlife films? Like, do you like the idea of people watching on their computers, or do you favor the theatrical experience?
Computers, it's very different impression. On computer, it's very real. It's scary, real. It's really what's exactly you want to stop. You want to answer the call, or you want to. It's very relatable. On the big screen, I really like these movies on the big screen because, for me personally, because it's a statement. You know, it's like a Picasso painting. You can put it in a garage and nobody will care about it, or you can put it in Metropolitan, whatever, in Louvre, and with a golden frame, and it will look different because it's a statement. I think Screenlife, computer screen on a big IMAX screen, it's so impressive because it's a statement. It's a statement, but the Screenlife is important for us. This is and it's aesthetic. You know, there is a contrast between the subject and the form, and I personally, I prefer to see it on the big screen, especially with the sound, by the way, because we made a very interesting decisions with the sound, because in traditional movies, the screen, it's a window into another world, yeah, because like you see a screen and there is some like woods, whatever, castles, and it's behind the screen. But in our case, in Screenlife, our screen is just screen. There is nothing behind. It means the sound has a different setup, because we have a sound from the computer, yeah, and it's a kind of little ugly, little like, and also we have a sound around the character. In this case, we mixed it differently. We mixed with a different correction, what's coming from the screen and what's around you. And IMAX with the Atmos sound is just perfect place to watch Screenlife movies.
Wow, interesting. In terms of the film, so the film is coming out today theatrically, and it's coming out across, where's it being released right now? I know it's being released here in the US. have you seen it with audiences in other parts of the world? I'm curious what that audience experience is like
Or festivals.
at festivals.
Yeah, festivals in Berlin and South by Southwest, and every festival we we were invited, we got the same prize with the audience award. We never got a even like a tiny medal from jury, because we I don't know why critics feels confused. I mean, kind of jealous, maybe. I don't know. I don't know what it is, because we are not showing movies. We're showing some computer screens. Nobody knows how to criticize, because it's a very different animal.
One of the things I really liked about the film was because it's all from computers, the image quality in certain scenes is very corrupted. It's like, it's a poor image quality, but it makes sense. It should be. I mean, especially Shazad, for your character, you know, when you're Skyping in from Syria and the call is dropping, or I mean, it's so pixelated and bad. And of course, that's how it should be.
It's good.
I think that added, that first moment when you see the lion and the Skype call, that first time you see him I think it's pixelated then. And I remember Timur saying, I said, oh, it went a bit weird then. He was like, no, leave it. And it adds to the scariness of that character. Just wait, you still, even when you open the thing, you're like, wait, what does he look like? What's he do? You know, just adds to the tension, I think.
Yeah, like I think one of my favorite. Oh, sorry, Josh.
No, after you.
No, I was going to say one of my favorite moments of the movie, I think, when I filmed it and when I watched it, was the moment where he proposes to her. And, you know, like Timur and Shazad had decided what they were going to do, and this magic thing with the machine gun. And I didn't know. And I just remember the first time that I saw it, it was super dark and the screen was super pixelated, but it felt really like how a human would experience what had just happened. You know, like if me and you took our phones and I filmed that out here in London, you would see it how Amy saw it. And that's what I loved, that it was so amazing for an actor, because it just all felt really real. I think all the graininess, all the breakups, and I just love that moment. I think it translated so well, you know.
Mm-hmm. Timur, I was curious about, there's so much footage in the film from, you know, different YouTube videos. Were any of those pre-existing, like actual YouTube videos, or was that all created by you? Like there's a lot of
videos, looks like YouTube videos. We shot it, and like, for example, with Shazad in Cyprus playing soccer, and a lot of stuff. And some footage we used. We found on YouTube in different sources, because one of the producers lived in Syria, and we found their footage, and we used it because you cannot imitate, you know, and it was whole idea how to blend, because she's on the street, just with the mobile phone, and then he flipped the phone and there's an explosion happened. We just found a way how to combine the things, because it was impossible to shoot this way.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like a one shot.
But like the beheading videos, or the video of the kids when the bomb goes off, did you shoot those for the film?
Yes. No, this is real.
Those are real. Okay.
Yeah, this is real. This you cannot made up. Yeah.
So post-production on this is, I mean, obviously you were already talking about how the sound design was different, but I imagine your post process is just completely different, because you're building like this collage on the screen of all the different layers of video and apps.
Yes, it is. We did a lot in post, but also the uniqueness of Unfriended, that we did a lot in prep. And it was whole idea to allow Valene to play with the computer with something happening, because she had a chance to click, to open files, to answer calls, and it was different, because we never had a chance to do it in previous movies, because Unfriended and Searching, it was actors pretending that something happened on the screen. It was a minimal, but in Profile we decided to build not only set and background in the room, but also to build the set front of the actor, just to allow actor to interact and be real.
Mm-hmm. Shazad, I'd love to hear you talk about your character a bit. I found it so, the Middle Eastern terrorist is such a portrayed in such stereotypical ways in American film. And I thought this was like a fascinating, your character was incredibly charismatic and interesting and compelling, and to see it evolving in this, conversation over Skype with Valene's character is a totally different way into that type of character. I'm just curious, like, as you approached it, how were you thinking about those issues and how you wanted to portray him?
I think that was key for all of us to that's always the starting point, to make a three-dimensional character. You don't want it to, if it was 2D, it wouldn't work. The film would be worse, and that's always got to be where we're going to start from. But then, because we had Anna's book, the real guy, that even seeing the videos of what he was sort of like, there were a couple of videos, one we reenacted where he's in the car with the machine gun. You can see that this guy was, I think Balsett mentioned it as well, that you see how charismatic this guy actually was, and how charismatic he has to be to seduce these young women.
Mm-hmm.
That just, it makes for interesting drama anyway. And then the fact that you've got him going up against Val with this sort of cat and mouse thing is just already an interesting take on what we normally see in American movies. And then it's about humanizing him, making him more relatable, making him a guy you actually want to hang out with. So then we had the, making the curry scene and the football scene, all these normal things. You go, this guy's actually quite cool. Yeah, maybe I want to hang around with this guy. That's the kind of thing we're trying to convince the audience. And I think
the cat videos.
Yeah.
The cat videos, which is all true. Olga told us, the producer.
Wow.
They do that as a technique, and so there was all these things that you could just, which were great building blocks. And then obviously, and then it's down to sort of just the interesting two-hander between me and Val. That is just, that pitter-patter between us is just good drama anyway, I think.
But also, Shazad wrote that sweet shop scene, like Timur really wanted something to develop and asked, can you write something that's going to feel like, let's humanize him even more, let's really find out who he is. And so Shazad wrote that scene from partly his own experience of growing up in East London, and so like little moments like that really bring such reality, I think. For me, I think for both of us it did, and I thought like it was a beautiful moment, it was a beautiful scene, but it meant that I don't know, it meant that even though this character was a real human being, you also personalized him even more, which I think makes the relationship seem more tangible and believable and humane, rather
and more confusing than when you realize they're playing roles, because you get sucked in and going, oh my god, maybe this is real, maybe they're gonna, and then suddenly you go, wait, hold on, this is crazy, and they're both lying or not,
Right. Timur, I know you made this film before the pandemic, well before it, but I'm curious your experience of, it's amazing to watch this film now. All right. This feels so of the moment, but not in a gimmicky way. It feels like this feels like the right way to watch a movie to me right now. The way you've made this speaks to this moment, but I'm curious for you as a filmmaker, what has going through COVID changed your view of screen life in any way? Has it made it feel like a more important way to tell stories, or do you have ways that you want to develop it that you haven't tried yet, or types of stories that you want to tell using it?
I just feel urgency. It before it was some interesting experiment and kind of visionary move. Like I think it will happen in 5 years. That's what I was thinking, and suddenly it's today and it's yesterday, and we live in the post-COVID world. And it's a world where we need to rethink everything. We need to rethink how we work, how we spend time, how we should protect ourselves, because one of the most important, impactful elements of this movie is privacy and secure and how to cybersecurity. You know, because we all live in the world where there is no rules. You know, there is no morality. You know, we don't know what's good, what's bad in this world. The fake news or AI can, like, you don't know, like machine learning can create different character. You don't know what's real, what's not. You don't know. There's no time, you know, because there is no like a real time processes in life in digital world, and there is no life and death. People are dead, but they still keep sending messages to us through Facebook. Like you will push the button, say happy birthday every 12 months. It will keep sending if you already gone. And this is all small details we know, intellectually we understand, but emotionally we don't accept. We don't know how to live in this world. It's very stressful, and the only way to set up the new rules, new morality, new trust between people, to tell good stories, emotional stories. It's what we do.
Yeah. Thank you. So we've got some good questions from the audience that I want to get to now while we still have a little time. The first one is for Valene. Valene, in your opinion, did Amy/Melody fall in love with Bilal in the end?
It's funny because I had very much decided from reading the book, you know, like it's kind of like when you have a play as an actor, you read the play like, you know, 50 times to try and understand, like, but what's the subtext here? What is she really saying? And I had decided that she did, you know, and then when we had this magic moment where Timur sort of allowed both of us to see each other in such a meta way, where we both just sat in front of a computer and met each other on Skype. And it was bizarre at that moment, because I think, Timur, we were both sort of rendered silent for like 2 minutes, or we both were just like looking at each other. But I asked her in that moment, you know, so I feel like that you fell in love with him, did you? And she categorically said no. I mean, I believe that there was definitely, I think they both fell in love with each other for a moment in this story, until they both started to sniff out that something was awry. And then I think they both started, I mean, I actually think maybe he sniffed it out much earlier than she did. And then he started to get quite aggressive, as we see in the film, and things started to fall apart. I think so. Yeah, I think she did.
I have one comment. I think it's a question for the audience. It's we made a movie when we don't have an answer, because we never know what it means to be in love with somebody. It's a very difficult question. But I know for sure that the Emmy didn't study it in the Lee Strasberg school how to act, and for her to complete her to make her business, she must be believable, and she must convince Bilal, and the only way for her to do it is just really move, you know, because otherwise he will caught her. And it's happened in the movie. We have few scenes when he caught her when he was testing her, and she was brave enough to allow herself to go this way and to try to find something good in this man, because otherwise she will fail, you know, as a professional journalist.
I thought that first scene when you talk, Valene, when you're wearing the hijab for the first time, was such a compelling scene, because as the audience, I know that, like, I know you're a journalist, and I know exactly what's going on, but just I'm watching your face knowing that, like, this is what Bilal is seeing for the first time. and like the play of your eyes and the way you smile or look away, everything. I don't know. It was fascinating to watch. Like I know it's an act, but it also, I'm seeing it through his eyes where it feels somehow genuine and totally captivating. It's really
It's because I was actually flirting with Shazad. It was real.
Yeah, it comes through. Yeah, very much.
No, what's so weird about that scene in particular is that was like my final audition scene. And Timur, I don't know if you remember this. I think that was the scene that we redid the most.
Yes.
Because it was so it was like so intricate. It was like, this needs to be so believable for the story to like springboard from. And there was just loads of takes where I was shit. And he was like, I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. Let's go again. Let's go again. And I think it was the scene that we did the most to, where if I remember, like everything else you were really happy with. And it was that one scene that I had to redo quite a lot. Shazad was brilliant every take. I wasn't. You were.
Next question is for Timur. Timur, you were recently quoted saying, "Screen life is the future of cinema," which I totally agree with. Can you please elaborate on what you think cinema will look like in 5 years?
I hope cinema will be very, very different. We will see different movies. I hope we'll still see the Spielberg movie, and we'll see the Jackie Chan, and I hope it'll be very variable. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And, but I believe that if we spend 6 hours a day, 7 hours a day staring in our screens, that it means half of our life. I believe that half of the content in the world, stories, web series, movies, whatever, will be about screen life. Mm-hmm. Because it's just logic. If we live in this world half of our time, then half of our entertainment should be about screen life, about digital world. And I believe it will have a different forms, because the good question people ask me, okay, then if Elon Musk, whatever, will figure out how to put information in your brain directly, where the screen? What's mean screen life? Mm-hmm. There's no screens. You don't need screen. And I think the screen doesn't mean the computer screen. The screen, it's something separates two worlds. Like screen, it's like screen on your window. It's two worlds: physical space and the digital space. And this screen will exist. It will have a different forms. It could be something in your brain, some 3D AR objects, whatever, VR objects, or I don't know what will be the form. But the separation between physical space and digital world will be important for us. Like the same way as between life and death, these gates are very important, and we need to keep it close, and because otherwise we will totally the dead will come and make a mess.
So a follow-up question to that also for Timur is, what would a third Night Watch film look like using screen life? Because
the light ones and dark ones, they now live in digital space. They're vampires. In today's world, vampires is people sucking some other people's energy online, like cyberbullying. It's vampires. Fake news. It's the vampires. Mm-hmm. And I think we just will. Nobody needs the blood. The blood is you can buy in. You can just order online, and they'll come to you with the fresh blood. You don't even need to buy it. I'm joking, but I just think that we need to be open to the all new stuff. And I don't mean we need to accept everything. I mean we need to be open and express ourselves and understand ourselves in a new forms. And the screen life is a new form. It's a just different way of doing the same thing, like falling in love betraying, saving the world, but it will be in digital space, and Night Watch will be the next one. I hope will be with a screen light. But if you will download watch Night Watch from 2004, you will find the big piece, like a scene in Screen Life in the movie, because I remember, I forgot about it, but I just suddenly discovered that there was a big scene when the Anton, I created for him the Screen Life, like a social network of others, and he was trying to play with the. Just please.
So Timur, is this really your focus now, working in Screen Life, or are you also developing projects that are more traditional, like big budget filmmaking?
Unfortunately, I'm multitasking.
Mm-hmm.
My heart with the Screen Life, my brain. I mean, I understand that it's better. It's a most pragmatic way to spend time to make Screen Life movies, but unfortunately, I suddenly falling in love, and I made a puppet show like a few months ago, and I spent time to make a puppet show for 30 people in the room. But
it's amazing the different scales that you work on. I didn't know about the puppet show, but I mean, you did these massive, huge films, right? And then Screen Life and puppet shows. I personally find that inspiring, that you're, creatively engaged on all levels. And
I promised Shazad to send you this play, because he'll be. It's about Hoja Nasruddin.
Is it?
I did it. Yeah, I will send you the play to read.
So we have time for one more question from the audience, and the question is, why no end credit for Sparky, who actually played a very important role, and does he belong to anyone on the cast and crew?
Valene, you will answer.
Oh God, because I hated that dog, and I said he is not going to be in those credits. No, he was. No, I actually found working with that dog very difficult, and it was very emotional. And Shazad, do you remember? It was probably the worst moment of filming, because
I remember that. Yeah, you were very. What was happening? He was coming in, and
I was very what?
Nothing.
Yeah, he wouldn't play ball on that last scene where he's supposed to come and I'm supposed to scream, and my acting was just all shoddy and awful. And I sort of called, and obviously because me and Shazad's relationship, it was all on phone, so I called him privately and I said, I'm really struggling, and like that didn't really go very well. And he was like, yeah, we're kind of wrapped here. I'm going for a beer with the Cyprus crew. And
I thought we'd had it, and we were like, yeah, we're ready to go. And then Val wanted to do another take, and I was like, oh, all right.
Like, no, I have to deal with the dog right now. I'm doing the dog stuff, okay. But I don't know why he didn't have an end credit. And I know he was an acting dog. He was a showbiz dog. He was a biz dog, but he just didn't know how to do Screen Life. That wasn't his forte.
Yeah, he needed a trailer and the whole deal.
He needed a trailer, he needed lights, he needed a camera. He wasn't sure what was going on.
Well, I want to thank you all for being here. Congratulations on the film. I'm so happy it's coming out. And I just want to say, our audience here at Film Independent is, it's a lot of filmmakers. It's young, emerging filmmakers. And I think this is such an exciting format for people to explore. And Timur, to see what you've done with this and I feel like there's so much unexplored here that people should be trying different things. I think it'd be really interesting to see how different genres can work or not work in this, how comedy would play, how romance, could you do something historical in Screen Life, right? There's so much opportunity here to explore. And I know it's not about money and being low budget, but the fact is, this is a way for a younger filmmaker starting out to make something that actually is creatively exciting and groundbreaking, that doesn't require spending, running up your credit cards or spending years trying to raise equity financing. So it's like, it puts the control in the hands of a creative filmmaker as you are, Timur. So I think it's very exciting.
Thank you. Thank you. I hope audience will agree with you.
Yeah. Great. Well, congrats on the film, and from Film Independent, thank you. Thank you so much for being here for this talk.